Hello, and welcome to The Spiritual Pivot, the podcast about the chaos of running your own spiritual business and the life pivots that got you there. My name is Charlie River Morrow, and I'm a Akashic Record reader, and I am so excited to be talking to Eboni Banks today.
Aw,
I have had the immense privilege of being a client of Ebony's and just someone who has had an opportunity to have many conversations with her. She is an author, a podcaster, a mystic. She's clairtangent, and there's so
so many things.
much so much to talk about and tell about Ebony, but I would really appreciate if she would talk about herself in her own words. So, Ebony, thank you so much for being here. Please tell everyone listening a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Oh goodness, it's so much and it's all connected. So I guess I'll start by sharing it's all rooted in my personal healing journey
Mm.
and my experience connecting my body, my senses, and my intuition, and recognizing that sensuality is more than sexuality. It's really an awareness brought to the body through all of the senses. And so my healing journey has led me to that in various ways over many years. I think my journey officially started in around 2012, and then I repressed it for many years. And so it came out of my mouth in 2016. And then the books came and all these things came. So this is like almost a decade, over a decade now of my journey. So it's hard to put it all into like explain it neatly because it's been over 10 years of my life that has gotten me here, you know?
So your journey and most of the pivots, it sounds like, have come from early childhood, just lived experiences when mysticism and in just shared family values. And then life pivots themselves have led to this healing journey. When did you start doing things for others, doing things as similar to what you're doing now for a business?
Well, I guess I didn't even go back to my childhood. I was just going back to 2012. So I was just going
Yeah.
back and I was very much an adult in 2012. So, but if since you mentioned childhood, yes, I was raised in a Christian family, went to church, very religious. So I credit that with my understanding of non-physical life. Like going to church and being raised in religion gave me that foundation that there's something other than the physical that exists. I've had that awareness since I was, 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But bringing it all the way up to my business and what I'm doing now, I mean, my business officially started nope, I would say, was that 24? Yeah, around October of 24.
Oh,
So it's a
wow.
very new business. But prior to that, when I learned I was clairtangent accidentally in 2012, I've been giving people readings since 2012, but it was never a business. It was always something I just did on the side. I've always worked in philanthropy. So I was like working in philanthropy all of that time and just doing this thing on the side, but in 2024, October 2024, my website for my business, surfaced and I came up with the name Body Way Intuition and really started trying to formalize my work so that I can move into it full time in 2024.
Nice. And clairtangent is a term that I also did not know until I met you. Would you mind just
Wow.
detailing just a little bit more
Yes.
about that and also how you came to knowing about that? How you even
Yes.
came across that as a term?
Yes. Oh gosh, I don't remember how I found the word, but so clairtangent is one of the intuitive clairsenses. Most people know of clairvoyant. So it's in the same family as clairvoyant, and it connects to touch, our primary sense of touch. When you think of touch, taste, hear, smell, and see, our five primary senses, seven of the clairsenses directly correlate to touch, taste, hear, smell, and see. And so clairtangent means clear touch. Clair means clear, tangent means touch, and it's the ability to receive information from touch. And I learned this about myself accidentally when I was having a Reiki attunement. And even that was accidental because I thought I was going to have my chakras aligned. She was ready to attune me to Reiki. So I just went with the flow. And that was in 2012. And so that's when I accidentally learned. And in the beginning, um, I guess I can share more about how I learned. So as we're outside in the park and she's attuning me, a stranger walks up to us and he asked if I wanted to practice on him.
Hmm.
And when I was doing what she just taught me to do, I was getting all this information about his wife and his daughter. And so I asked the woman, is it okay if I talk? Because traditional Reiki is silent. And that's what she was quote unquote attuning me to. But this other thing was happening in addition to that. So she said, of course. So I'm talking to him the whole time. And he says nothing. And then when I'm done, he said, how do you know all that? And I said, I have no idea. I've never done it before in my life until this very moment. So that's how I learned that. And I didn't call it clairtangent probably for about 2 years. When I first started practicing, I was at this place in Brooklyn called Minka. And the owner, it was like this spiritual what would you call Minka? I guess it's like I don't even know if it still exists, but it was a place where like spiritual providers would go and have like serve clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a range of spiritual practitioners doing all kinds of things. And the owner at the time, she had everyone give her a reading just so she could see you were the real deal before she actually let you practice and be on her. So when I gave her a reading, we were trying to figure out like what is this? Like what do we call this? And we were like, oh, it's turning into your light body and all these things. And then years later, I don't even know exactly where I learned the term clairtangent or how it came into my awareness because I didn't create the term. Those clairsenses have always existed or existed, long before I knew about them. Um, I don't know how I learned that word, but when I heard it, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I'm doing. That's it, because it only happens with touch. It's only with my hands.
Nice. So, because it happens with touch, and a lot of the clients that you meet with remotely, you did this with me. Can you
Yeah.
describe? Can you describe how you do that? Because
Yes.
I was fascinated, and I want to hear you talk about it. I really do.
I write about this in my new book, Your Intuitive Nudge, a step-by-step guide to connecting with your intuition, because I think I write about this. I think in the intro, I do. I say something
Mm-hmm.
about how I do it remotely. I use a
Yeah.
teddy. I
Yeah.
use a teddy bear, and it's as if the person is physically in front of me. And I think the way I write about it is I think my brain has to have something to touch to understand what on earth is happening. I think that's the only way, just for me, like my brain. Maybe as I progress and like mature spiritually, I won't need my brain to have that understanding and I can do it without having to like touch anything. But right now, I think that's why I use the teddy. So I use the teddy bear and I touch the same places on the teddy bear, like I would touch the person if they're
Mhm.
physically in front of me.
Yeah. I can just say, as a recipient of that and being very highly attuned to physicality and things, I 100% could tell exactly where teddy bear wise things were kind of occurring. I was like, oh my gosh, it is like she is in the room with me. It was because proxies are exactly that.
Yeah,
They are proxies for a reason. And
yeah,
where I'm so curious about this journey that got to this place where you now have all of this coming online. This is all brand new, and it sounds like you're very open to it and very accepting of, oh, this is clearly what I'm doing now.
yeah,
What leads you from that to where you are now, to conducting these sessions remotely with folks, teaching
yeah.
and really expanding this for other people?
Well, I mean, it's new as in I've been doing it since 2012, the reading. So it's not like new. The business is more new and like putting it in a business, trying to put it in a container
Mm.
so people can understand who I am and what I do. Like that is new. I think really just my readiness and my comfort. The reason I connect so much to sensuality in the body is because I'm a rape survivor. And I learned all of this and how I was holding my body for so many years. And when I was started to heal and I held my body differently, I was noticing all of these things that were happening in my body. But I've also been intuitive since I was a child. So previous to the trauma, I was already a highly intuitive person. And then the trauma kind of made me constrict my body and just hold my body in a different way because I felt just generally unsafe for many years.
Mm.
And so it's hard to describe constricting the body, but the things I think about are like when people, curl the toes in their shoes or they lock their jaw or they raise their shoulders or they construct their hips, like all of those, like I would walk around like this. So this isn't anything anybody else could see. But as I started healing, and yoga was a big part of my healing journey and what really put me in my body in a powerful way, I started to like recognize that, oh my gosh, I feel so differently in my body. And I had been feeling that constricted way for so long
Mm.
that it was normal to me. So when I was doing yoga and it's like opening my body up and it's bringing me more awareness of my body from head to toe. Like that coupled with the fact that I'm already highly intuitive, and I'm just naturally introspective and like self-reflective. It's just the kind of human I am, I pay attention to myself. And my intuition was expanding. And so all those things, because 2012 is that's the year I started doing yoga again. And that's the year I accidentally learned I was clairtangent. That was the same year. I started 2012 doing a 30-day yoga practice. So I was in a yoga pose December 31st, 2011 at 11:59. I was doing yoga.
Nice.
And then the whole first month of January 2012, or I was doing a 30-day hot yoga challenge. And so I was really powerfully in my body. And then it's like April of 2012 is when I accidentally learned I was clairtangent. So the way I process these things, it was just all my inner guidance. I was just guiding myself to all these things because I tried yoga in like, I don't know how many years prior to that when I was living in a different city. I went to one yoga class and I hated it. And I said I was never doing yoga again in my life. I was done. And that was after the trauma, right? I just wasn't ready to be in my body. So I think it's just my readiness. I was ready to different levels of readiness along the way. So in 2012, I was ready to be in my body. That taught me about sensuality and the senses and how I process and experience life so acutely through my senses, which is also why the rape was so horrific for me because I am someone who's so acutely in my body naturally. And then it kind of all like different levels of like me being comfortable being seen,
Yeah.
sharing all of this stuff with the world and like, oh, this is who I am. This is who I am. Oh, okay. Like I had to come to grips with this is who I am first.
And that's a very it's a very structured journey too, kind of
It
looking
is.
back.
It
Did it
is.
feel structured at the time or was it
No way. I mean, and it was so many gaps of years. It wasn't like these things were happening in the same year. It was like this year, this year, this year, this, because I didn't actually speak my trauma out of my mouth till 2016. I
Mm,
repressed my trauma for 18 years.
mm,
So in some ways that's kind of not structured because in 2012 I'm in my body. I don't know why I'm liking it, all these things. I'm crying after yoga. All this stuff is happening. And then not until 4 years later did I actually say, "Oh, I've been repressing this." And so it was structured, but it was also unstructured in a lot of ways. And I think the structure was just because I'm so intuitive and I listen to myself and have a strong relationship with subconscious in general. Like my subconscious self was like guiding me to do this, do this, do this, do this. But
yeah.
I've always been spiritual. So, it was a lot of overlap too, because I've always been who I am. I've always been, curious and known there's more to life than the physical and call myself a mystic because I process life from the non-physical to the physical instead of from the physical to the non-physical, you know?
Yeah. So it sounds like you gave yourself a lot of prep work to be where you are now, at least in terms of this sort of shift into making this your business. So the
Yeah.
the year leading up to it, just the year of 2024 before you launched your website and created this as a way forward, what was
Yeah.
going on? What was leading to that?
Well, in 2012 was the readings, and I was doing readings a lot, but like I said, it was on the side. I wasn't advertising it. It was just kind of word of mouth.
Mhm.
And back then I thought of it just as an expression of myself. Just like, dancing, singing, writing, speaking, all these other creative things are an expression
Yeah.
of ourselves. I was like, okay, since I can do this, I actually want to exercise this, because it's something I can do and I can do it for a reason. So since I can do it, I don't want to ignore it. I'm grateful for it. It's a gift. I think we all have them. And so, that's how I thought about it for then. And then I was still doing all this philanthropy work. And what happened? I think probably the books. Yeah, that's definitely what it was because I started in the midst of all of that. In 2019, I started writing my memoir, which is not out yet.
Mm.
And it's titled Copy the Sky, a memoir on harmonizing dark and light. And it'll be out this spring. But that helped me understand not only my trauma, but my life and how I process and live in my body. Because even in my writing, I write about like sensuality the same way I understand it. Like it even shows up in my writing, like what my body is experiencing at these different moments when I'm having either an intuitive unawareness or like I'm doing yoga. Like the way I talk about it is even like using touch, taste, hear, smell, and see, you know?
Yeah.
So I think the writing probably helped because writing is just so healing in general. And I was connecting all these dots from like before the trauma, from when I was a child. You know, my great grandmother read palms for a living. So
Mm.
I was connecting like all these dots to just kind of accept that, oh, this is who I am. I'm not who I thought I was. I'm actually this other person.
Yeah.
And I like her and I want to own her because that's the truest part of who I am. And I just got to this through the trauma, through the writing, through all these little things that were happening throughout my life that helped me put this business together in the way that I have, you know?
Nice. So I want to pivot into talking about your podcast a little bit because I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of your podcast and I really want
Oh,
to talk
thank
about it.
you. Thank
Because
you.
to me, when I listen to your podcast, it feels like I get to be in the room with you and a best friend that I didn't know you had,
Oh my
speaking all about their
goodness.
gifts and the things that they're doing with their time and their world. And
I
I
love
this might be a
that.
very generic question, but how's that going? How's your podcast going? Please tell us about
I'm
it.
I'm loving it so much. You know, I just started it last December. And how did the podcast even start? So in 2023, I was on a lot of podcasts talking about my book and sensuality and the senses. And for the first time, sharing that I'm a rape survivor publicly. So that was like a big
Wow.
thing.
Yeah.
But I have to tell that story for people to understand how I got to this understanding. You know what I mean? It didn't just come out of the sky. I wasn't being clever and trying to make anything fit. I was literally guided to these things.
Yeah.
And so I really like being a podcast guest. And so I thought, like back then, I was like, huh, maybe I should do a podcast. And then I was going to do it with a woman who I know who has also had an incredible healing journey, but she was kind of not ready, didn't want to do it. And I just didn't think it was something I could do on my own for some reason. I just thought, like, I just envisioned it as me and another person for some reason, like talking about the things that we learn from our healing journeys. I didn't think about us like having guests. So then when I started thinking about it more, it's like, oh, I can do it by myself, but I have to have guests. And I can talk about intuition and I can talk about the senses and how everyone is experiencing their primary senses.
Mm.
So I can add a layer of that to teach them that everyone is also clairtangent or not clairtangent. Everyone is also clair something,
Yeah.
you know? So it's going so well. I'm just having so much fun. And episodes are weekly. So it's like a lot of work. But I mean, this is my favorite thing to talk about, and it's the easiest thing for me to talk about. You know, I don't even prepare for sessions with people. Like I'm better when I flow. So I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Like we just hit record and we go.
That's wonderful. And I've also gotten to be on your podcast, and it is
Yes, you
also
have
delightful.
been.
It was
Yes,
so much
you
fun.
have been. It
It
was
was so
such a
much
good
fun.
episode
Oh my
too.
gosh. So I'm so curious if you're just thinking back to all of this experience, all of these years, even as
Yeah.
they've led up to you being an author, being a podcaster, doing all of the things that you're doing. Are there any pivots in particular that you really do credit
Mm.
to whether good or bad, anything in particular that you really credit to? Yeah, without that, I would not be here. This would
Oh,
not be
there's
where
so
I
many
am.
things. Yes, there's
Yeah.
so many things. I think without doing yoga in 2012,
Mm,
right? Because I think the yoga just putting me in my body in a way that I hadn't been maybe ever, maybe in my whole life. So I don't know what would have happened if I didn't do yoga in 2012.
yeah.
I don't know if I would have learned I was clairtangent months later, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. So the yoga in 2012, the learning I was clairtangent. What else would I say? It was a pivot. The actual admission to myself in 2016, and unrepressing my trauma. And then all the therapy and everything after that. I needed therapy for sure. What other things? Writing the book, the memoir was incredible and so much so that it's not even out yet. Like the other book I wrote that book after the memoir and it's already in the world, right? So um writing the memoir, because writing the memoir wouldn't have gotten me the agent that asked me to write the self-help book because I wasn't thinking about writing one. she asked me if I would be interested in writing one. And so I like took a stab at it. I was like, okay, I could structure it like this, and this is what I'd want the chapters to look like, and this is what I'd want in each chapter. Like I had to, and we had like a sample. And then the publisher liked it, and we kind of went from there. Because initially we were going to go with a different publisher. They ended up backing out. So then we had to go with this publisher.
Mm.
So I wouldn't have had, I don't think any of those things would have happened.
Wow.
I think yoga was the start of it. And then all the other things, I don't think they would have happened because I had to get in my body
Yeah.
in order to understand sensuality in the way that I do, and in order to process the senses in the way that I do, and then just being clear tangent. I mean, who knew? Like that just can, it's a sense, it's
Yeah.
touch. Like I couldn't have written this better for myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just all, and that's why I say I was guided because
Yeah.
it's just all been so beautifully divine. And, it's so specific to who I am and my lived experience. It's not anything else anyone could like say, you know, they got here this way. Because
Yeah.
how?
And
So,
it's
you know?
it's also part of the brilliance of the title of your book because your intuitive nudge. I mean, truly nudge. It's very much
Ah,
big things that later you see were huge, but at the
yeah.
time didn't always feel so big.
Oh
So
my
I'm
goodness. I never made that connection between the title of that book. Thank you for giving me that. Yes. Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. So I'm curious now that you are kind of in this process of expanding what it is that you're doing. You've got a second book that's coming out. Your second first book,
My
your
second
second,
first book.
yeah,
Yes.
coming out. You've got the podcast that's doing beautifully.
Yeah.
You're continuing with your work. Where is it that you see your business going when you're thinking? And I'm kind of even
Oh,
thinking in terms of like the structured business as you're thinking of it as a
yes.
business. If you're, are you
Yes.
thinking in 5 year terms? Are you thinking in longer terms?
Yeah.
Walk us through that process.
Well, there's one thing I'm working on now that I'm not going to make public yet, but I'm very excited about. But outside of that, I just really want to, I mean, I'm so new, I'm completely unknown. Only a handful of people have seen my work or know about me on social media. So I really want to build my audience
Mm,
because I have so much to share with people that is healing and supportive.
yeah,
And I think that's the only reason all of this has happened in my life. Why even the trauma happened, like it happened for me to get here so I can share it.
yeah,
So really, my next 5 years, I'm just focusing on, becoming as visible as I can in all the ways, which is why I have all these different outlets for people to connect with me. There's the book, there's the podcasts, there's my readings that I share, the two different coaching sessions that I offer. And then I have a book club, and then I do like workshops every now and then. And right now I'm doing a really fun workshop for Reiki practitioners to teach them how to access their clairtangent abilities.
oh
So I
wow,
might like really formalize that because there's so
yeah,
many Reiki practitioners in the world, and I can teach them how to like enhance that, you know?
yeah,
So I'm using this as like a little test group for me. It's like 20 people in the group. And so far we're on week 3 out of I think 8. And they're loving it and getting so much. And they're like learning how to access that for themselves. And focusing on Reiki practitioners in particular, because I learned this about myself accidentally through Reiki. And Reiki is a hands-on thing. Like they already have an understanding of like energy and hands, and so much of it I don't have to catch them up on because they already know, you know?
yeah. That's oh man, to not just specialize in Reiki, but to extra specialize in using Reiki. I've not heard anyone else doing that yet. That's so exciting.
I know. I'm excited about it too. I mean, I think it's time for something new, I
Yeah.
think the timing that the universe has given me to be in this place in this time, I think is really opportune because I'm so tired of hearing about manifesting and law of attraction, like all these, we are past that, actually.
We're
We're
ready
actually
for
past
new.
that.
Yeah.
That's like so 20 years ago. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
can we progress our consciousness as human beings and really benefit from the nature of who we are?
Yes. And getting back in touch with our bodies. We're
Yeah.
so disconnected from them.
It's shocking,
So
actually.
terribly.
And
Yeah.
that disconnection shapes our perception of the world. So when we're
Yeah.
disconnected from ourselves, like what are you perceiving out of, and how are you understanding what you're perceiving and what you touch, taste, hear, smell, and see on the news, in your kitchen, when you walk down the street, at the grocery store? How are you perceiving all of that when you're so out of touch with yourself and your body?
You can't
You
get the
know,
nudges at
you
all.
can't, you
Yeah.
can't. It definitely makes it harder. So
Yeah. Oh, well, Ebony, thank you. I'm going to pivot us one more time now
yeah,
into an Akashic record reading for
let's do it.
you for your business. Is there any
Okay.
particular? Oh gosh. Okay, every time glasses have to come off, it's because there's big energy. Your guides have been, I just want to say this for everyone. We got on the call before we even started recording, and Ebony's guides were like, whew. They're like, we're here. We are ready. Is there a particular question that's on your heart? Because they are ready to fill you with some love. I can tell you that much.
Well, it's funny you say that because this morning I did notice, well, I won't get into that, but I'll ask the question. My question is, I don't know how to phrase this. How can well, I think I know the answer. So should I ask if I think I know the answer, or should I
It's up
find
to
another
you.
question?
That's up to you.
Oh gosh.
We can
What?
ask that question if it does not, put it this way, if it's not something that's particularly helpful for you because you do already know, the answers are typically pretty short.
Okay.
And
I,
then we
I
can
know
go
the
into a
answer
different
to
one.
that question, so I won't ask that question, but let's see what, and you said specific to the business?
It can be whatever you want. It's up
Whatever I
to you.
want.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll ask about the business since that's what you focus on. Mm, I guess what is the ultimate, what's the spirit want me to ultimately do with my business?
We would like to speak, please. Okay. We're going to get a full channeled message from your guides as a collective, if that's all right. Your journey has been long and difficult for many reasons. Your business will mirror this in some ways, simply so that you can also show others how to create what it is that is heart centered for them.
Mm,
We see beyond opening to clairs for Reiki practitioners to specialize in assisting with survivors.
mm,
Collaborations with mental health professionals are what we would recommend in the coming years.
mm,
You can help many in the mental health field learn Reiki for themselves
mm,
and cross train. Having those in the room with different levels of clients is beneficial. So they're okay. Okay, I'm gonna put my glasses back on so I can
I
actually
took
see it.
notes. I took a few notes.
um, they kind of give it to me as like sort of a larger download, and they're going to explain a few more things because I can only really channel through a few minutes of energy like that.
Okay.
Sorry, Ebony. That was some large ancestral energy coming through with that. Do you connect in with ancestors on a regular basis?
I know who is with me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because it is so firmly rooted in, like, basically the experience of sexual assault is mm, it's one of the most challenging for the human body. It's one of the most challenging for anyone who has been sexually assaulted to get back into their body. It basically is the hardest thing, the hardest
Yeah.
experience to go through
Mm,
and to heal because it actually interesting. Um no, it breaks. It actually breaks between root and sacral. There becomes a full
mm,
disconnect
mm.
in your entire energetic pathways. Uh,
Yeah.
there is a need for the consolidation of spiritual and psychological services. Yours is, it's interesting. They're showing me just a key. What you have is a key for really for the psychotherapy world in particular. Um,
Hmm.
that's that there's almost this
Can I tell you something?
yes, please do.
So my dad was a psychotherapist, my late father.
Oh,
That's
really?
all he did for a living. And he owned his own private practice. And my sister got a PhD in social work. So like my family's psychotherapy and like social work is big in my family.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's funny. That's interesting.
They're it's they're just kind of showing me now they're showing me there's you on stage doing a TED talk. But there's just a few there's sort of just the a level of training because there is also still like what comes into is like the standard caution, right? Like because there's specialists for very specific things, and obviously if you are someone who has experienced sexual assault, a licensed therapist is somebody that you do want to have as part of your care team, and you do want to be part of these conversations. Um, but what they're really showing is this new way of providing educational it's not just education, though. It's about connecting. It's about connecting service providers in a way that
Hmm.
allows for there to be service teams and the kind of conversations that you'll be able to have with that. Um, I really genuinely see you as just a head person in this. There's a level of, yeah, have you been to Ebony's training? Have you have you learned from this? Have you infused this into the work that you're doing? Um, and not necessarily for the purposes of um, larger, like just part of the larger conversations of who it is that's going to be receiving services, what it is that they
Yeah.
need, and where it is that those conversations are going to be going. Um, okay, I'm hearing there is a desire for all psychotherapists to know Reiki and to be in touch with their clairs.
Hmm. That's interesting. I've been playing down the Reiki because, I was attuned to it, but it got me to this other thing. So I don't share Reiki with clients, plus there's
Yeah.
so many Reiki practitioners in the world and there are fewer clairtangent
Mm-hmm.
practitioners in the world, so I,
Right.
I, I don't want to offer something people can get anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's not, and it led me to this other thing. It wasn't like the outcome, the end result for me.
You know what's interesting though? What's really they're showing me they're basically showing me Reiki on like one side of a prism, and then
Hmm.
they're turning it
Hmm.
to basically show like, and here's another dimension of it that
Yeah.
sort of infuses all of that together because it's as kind of
Yeah.
as you mentioned, everything is so connected that
Yep.
to be participant in one is sort of to hmm, it's almost
Hmm.
an as you have gathered pieces, you've never actually put any of it down. You keep it to a specific oh, okay. They're like you're keeping it specific because you are carving out the niche that you will be more able to provide in a way that helps people find specificity,
Yeah.
which is what's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all deeply encouraging, positive, deeply okay. Final one final just one final message from this group. There is immense gratitude for
Hmm.
the sacrifices you have made, for the life that you have lived, for the continued journey that you will be going on. There will be moments where the breaking open of your experience and your feelings will be new once again, but healing for all in the room. It's almost like they're sort of the continued, there may be a point where during it almost feels like a big, like one of those big life moments that you talk about for a long time afterwards, or like, yeah, when I did this, when I was on this stage, I experienced this profound moment where I re-experienced the emotions of that trauma for the purposes of helping the entire room heal theirs too, because there was
Mm,
like this there's just this last little fragment that you've been holding on to that's still
mm,
literally a piece of your journey right now, almost as a way of, yeah, a fragment that continues to send the beacon out to all, to act
mm.
as a level of magnet for the moment that you and there's just you on stage and a lot of people. That's basically where I am right now. Where you're sort of consciously reopening that fragment for the purposes of healing it together in community with,
Yeah,
but this is after you've already helped these people with their okay, it's a long message, with what it is that they came to also activate. So you've gone through the process of helping others, because that's what you're doing in Reiki, in with the Reiki practitioners now, is you're helping them to activate. Well, you're, yeah,
yeah,
you're leading them through their activations.
yeah,
And this is a, I just keep hearing a defining and closing moment for this journey that you have been on for decades.
yeah.
Yeah, you've been actively carrying this in your pocket for the moment of healing, for moment of healing for all, really.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's just profound yeah, profound
Oh,
gratitude from all and from
oh,
ancestry, because it also is healing that too.
oh yeah, yeah. Yes, I write about the healing of the ancestry in my memoir. That what I learned about how I'm healing folks who are no longer here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I didn't even know was a thing. I didn't even know that was possible until it started showing up. And I'm like, huh? You know?
Carried through in the songs sung through your DNA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any final? There's a level of thank you and expect
Oh,
tangible gratitudes in the
oh,
coming weeks. You will know what is from us.
oh,
Tangible gratitudes. They won't tell me more. They won't tell me more. They're like, we've already given you enough future sight stuff. I'm like, okay.
oh, sweet. Thank you
But
so
tangible
much for that.
gratitudes. Yeah.
Tangible gratitudes. Okay, so things in my 3D life.
Yes.
I'm all about that. Thank you.
Each segment of your continued journey is,
Mm,
I basically just keep seeing you hitting next milestones, and it's like you open presents from your ancestors.
mm,
Because as you're continuing to unlock further, and there really are saying like light codes in your DNA, you activate
mm.
them, and that means that every single person that you've ever interacted with and then continue to interact with benefits as well, because as you lighten and brighten, so too do they.
Oh,
And it's
beautiful.
part of the opening packages.
I've definitely been feeling so much change in my person, you know?
Yeah.
And one of the upcoming podcast episodes is with my therapist because I love
Nice.
her so much. And in that conversation, I told her I've been seeing her for 10 years since 2016. And I told her, um, I've been four people in those 10 years. And like I'm about to be a fifth because
Mm.
I feel like all this change in me. And I actually see how I'm responding differently to the world, you know?
Wow.
So yeah. We recorded that like 2 weeks ago, and I said that in that recording.
That's amazing. Immense gratitude and continued service is appreciated.
Ah,
Yeah.
wow. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. That was an incredibly powerful collective that you have got on your guidance, in your entire guidance field. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful energy. Wow.
Oh, thank you so much. I've had strangers even tell me, like, I've had three different strangers probably over the span of like The first one I remember was like 2007, 2008. I was at a conference and this woman sitting across the table from me when it was over, she was like, "You have a hole around you." She's like, "I can see them."
It's incredible.
And then like fast forward so many years later, like I hear it some people every now and then a stranger will tell me like I can see, you know?
Wow. Isn't that such a wonderful reminder of just how connected we are to the everything?
Yes, but we don't
Yes.
always feel connected because
Yeah.
I get into my spaces where I need support because I'm not aware the support is already there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So,
Well, Ebony, this has been absolutely amazing. And before we go, I am just so curious if you have really any advice for anyone who's opening up to their clairs, anyone who's opening up to some of these gifts, really considering pivoting from it being a part. And I loved what you said, just it being an expression of yourself, because that at the end of the day is what it always really feels like is how you grow the best and the most
mhm.
in any of this is when you treat it and keep it at the center of being an expression of yourself. So,
Yeah.
for anyone considering going in the kind of path that you have and into the spiritual business that you have, any particular advice that you'd give?
I mean, I don't think anyone should think about doing like going into a path that anyone else has had. I think everyone has to be really mindful of following and honoring their own.
Mm,
This is what mine looks like. You're not going to be able to copy, nor should you try somebody else's path. Even with Reiki, when Reiki was so popular years ago, the reason I did not want to be attuned to Reiki was because there were all these people that were like, oh, I want to be a Reiki practitioner because dot, dot, dot. But nowhere in their person, in their guidance, were they being guided to be a Reiki practitioner, right? It was just popular, cool,
yeah,
whatever association they had with that for themselves. They wanted to do that. So I think the biggest thing I can offer is really stay on your path. That's how you're going to get there.
yeah,
You're not going to get there if you try to mimic something someone else has done. You really
yeah,
have to pay attention to what is true for you, how you show up, and that truth will show up in the entirety of your life. Like you have to look at your life and understand your life, everything from childhood to the present, and because that's has helped me immensely, like so I think that's the biggest thing I can offer. And that expression piece, the reason why doing that is so important is because we all have so much to offer and we all have so much to like express through our being,
mm,
life happens through us, you know?
yeah,
And so if you are not allowing yourself to be whatever is true for you and allow life to happen through that truth, then what are you expressing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? S-
yeah,
So the expression is like in two ways. It's kind of like expressing that we're human beings and we have these capacities to do all of these incredible things that we don't even give ourselves credit for, and expressing like what is true for you based on your life journey and what feels true for you and how you're guided,
so
because all of
beautiful.
this for me has been guidance.
Yeah. Ebony, thank you so much. This has been such a fun conversation.
Yay.
Where can folks find more about you?
Probably my social media is the best way. I mean, I'm most active on there. And everything is body, weight, intuition. And my website, the social medias, all those things. You can find information on the books, the podcasts, everything.
Awesome. And I look forward to your second first book.
My
I look
second,
forward to your
I'm gonna
memoir.
call it that. I'm gonna call it my second first book.
And seriously, your intuitive nudge, you can get it anywhere that you get books, and it's amazing. Seriously, everyone needs to get it. It's such a good book.
Oh,
Um,
I'm so happy to hear that. This is why I have to be more public because it's just so like that's I feel like what's in that book, people will be able to learn from year for year. Like it's
yeah,
a lifelong learning in that book,
yes, it is.
And so that's why I have to like be more public so that people can get all that yummy information for such a good price,
Yes.
you know?
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for watching, Ebony. Thank you so much for being here,
Thank
and
you.
stay tuned for more episodes in the coming weeks. Thank you.